Let's unbox the Hot Wheels Starships Select Ahsoka Tano's T-6 Jedi Shuttle.
Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it.
Hello there, thanks for visiting Varykino. It's always an exciting day when you check your local toy store and find new Star Wars toys. While we were checking out our local mall, we came across a brand new wave of Hot Wheels Starship Select Star Wars vehicles, which includes Ahsoka Tano's T-6 Jedi Shuttle, Carson Teva's X-Wing Fighter, Naboo Starfighter, and the prototype AT-80. Really cool. We've been on the hunt for these for a while. We know that they've been available overseas, but it's really exciting to be able to find them here in New Zealand. So of course we picked up the wave and we're going to be opening them up all very soon. I was really especially excited about Ahsoka Tano's T-6 Jedi Shuttle. It's such a new, unique ship, and I absolutely love the Ahsoka live action series. So I'm really excited to see a unique design from that show showing up in the Hot Wheels Starship Select line. I think it's fantastic and I can't wait to open it up. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up really soon, I'll take a closer look at the Jedi Shuttle out of the packaging so we can go over all of the details. But first, let's take a quick look at the box. I really like the packaging style for the Hot Wheels Starships Select line, so much so that it actually took me a while to start opening mine up because I think they packaged them so well. Really nicely posed to see a lot of details through this big window here at the front. Of course, the window wraps around a little bit on either side, which is nice. And beneath the window, we have the title for the ship, Ahsoka Tano's T-6 Jedi Shuttle, a little bit of a long one there. And we have the Hot Wheels Starships Select logo there as well. Now we don't have a window at the top to let in a bit of light, but we do have some interesting printed details. On the right hand side we have the faction logo in red, which for this ship is Ahsoka Tano's Fulcrum logo, which we first saw in Rebels. And on the left we have a black and white blueprint style artwork there of the Jedi Shuttle. Some fantastic details, can't wait to open it up. On the top cardboard hanger we have the number for this particular ship, number 27. And we have the title there as well. So let's move on to the back. We have some nice preview images here of the display stand, which of course is tucked in the underside of the box. We'll get that out very shortly. We can see how this one is going to attach to the base, and it can also rotate, which is great for some different viewing and posing angles. We can see the other ships included in this particular assortment. We have a reissue of the ever popular Millennium Falcon, of course, the Naboo Starfighter, Carson Teva's X-Wing Fighter, and the prototype, a very colorful version of the AT-AT. Really fun. Now I do have this one already, so I didn't pick up the new reissue, but I was excited to find these ones, so I'll be opening up this whole wave very shortly. Really excited. I've been hunting these ones for a while. I wasn't sure if they would show up in New Zealand, but I was excited to spot them today. So let's get stuck in and open up the Jedi Shuttle. So now I have the T-6 Jedi Shuttle and the included display stand out of the packaging, but I just want to take a quick little look at the insert that was tucked in behind the ship in the box. I really like the black and white blueprint style artwork that Mattel uses inside the packaging for the Hot Wheels Starships Select line. Each assortment has a unique artwork with all of the different ships in each particular assortment. So for this one we have the AT-AT, which of course is the prototype version in this wave. We have the Millennium Falcon, we have Carson Teva's X-Wing, the T-6 Jedi Shuttle, and one of my favorites, the Naboo Starfighter. This is fantastic. You can cut out and keep it if you don't have the place or the inclination to keep the whole box. But of course, let's get stuck into the T-6 Jedi Shuttle. Now, of course, I have to point out that the Hot Wheels Starship Select line don't have landing gear. There's nothing to sort of pull out or sort of attach to it. Of course, we have a display stand, but no landing gear. But for this one in particular, it kind of looks like it does. The underside of the ship, of course, has this sort of extra part that kind of gives it the impression that it's kind of in a landed position when just resting without the stand on it, which I think is kind of interesting. Personally, I think this line looks so much better on their stands, but I know sometimes you kind of want to mix it up. So I think that that's kind of interesting. It kind of looks like it's just landed here. So of course, I love the detail in this line. They are metal die cast, and generally I really like the weight and feel of the ships. When you get them out of their boxes, they feel different to just the weight of the box. Now this one is quite thin generally, so of course it doesn't feel quite as heavy. It doesn't have quite quite the heft to it that some of the other ships do. Of course, a lot of Star Wars ships have quite some bulk to it, but this one's kind of on the lighter side. Not that it makes it feel flimsy, of course, it's still metal, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. It's always, you never know how they're really going to feel when you get them out of the box. Now, when I got this one out of the box, I could hear a small sound, and I just noted that this little part here just rocks. It's like not quite firmly attached. It just has a little bit of wiggle to it, and it was kind of making just a subtle little sound. Probably doesn't even show up on camera there, and it's just almost imperceptible, a little movement there, but just that little attachment sort of method there caught my eye. Now, the way that I'm sort of being able to sort of feel this with my hand, I can't tell if this engine sort of piece here is actually plastic or full metal. To my eyes, it looks metal, but I can't say for certain. I know that this is generally all metal, but for sort of safety or construction reasons, sometimes there are small plastic components. But because this one's all kind of tucked in there, and that fantastic metallic finish is doing a really good job of sort of hiding the details. I want to say it's metal, but just because it's just giving me a bit of a hard reading, it's just a little bit hard to say for sure. The rest of it is metal. We don't have anything plastic here on the underside. The cockpit is fully metal there as well. Really cool. Now, it was packaged in the box, kind of pointed like this, so I couldn't see the underside. So, of course, I can see the fantastic detail. I love this kind of red arrow. It's so striking with the paintwork here. And, of course, we've got a similar sort of red arrow across the top. I love these sort of little white stripes sort of cutting in there. Really fantastic. So, I could see through the box that this one is one of the ships in the line that has a really subtle weathering wash. Some ships are clean, some are very sort of battle worn with some really heavy weathering. Now, I didn't have the opportunity to sort of compare multiples of the ship on the store shelf. Sometimes we are lucky and we get a big box assortment of Hot Wheels ships, and sometimes it's just the one, and so what you can find is what you're going to snatch up, and I really didn't want to miss on this one, so I just grabbed the first one I found without being able to hunt around, because if you find them at different stores, you can't compare paintwork, so I'll just grab the one that I found first. So you can see that the paintwork does look generally pretty clean, but on a few tiny areas, mainly down here, you can kind of see that we've just got a little bit of a tiny sort of wash just kind of coming in here, particularly around this area here. We've got a little bit of an evidence here, and kind of just really subtle, which I kind of like. Sometimes the heavy washes, they can kind of pool in some areas, which can give a really cool sort of battle worn effect, and other times it can make them look a little too dirty for my tastes there. We've got a little bit of the weathering sort of showing up here along this section here as well, but overall I think this is one of my favorite kind of versions of weathering in this line, enough to really highlight all of these incredible surface details, like sort of getting in and sort of really showing up all of that sort of recessed line work really well, without it really drawing the eye too much and making it look like it's kind of gotten really dirty there. So absolutely fantastic. Really tidy on the paintwork on the top here. Of course, we're going to go over all of it a little bit sort of closer up, because I think that the paintwork on this particular line is a real high point for me. It always looks really nice. So yeah, we've got maybe like a tiny spot. I generally go over my collectibles with a fine-tooth comb, looking up really close. But sometimes, you know, tiny little marks on these things, they kind of just create an overall impression, you know? They're not shiny ships, you know? I kind of expect something like the sort of very chromed Naboo ships to have sort of a flawless finish, but for something like this that we see getting shot at, you know, poor Professor Hu Yang's always trying to fix the ship in the battles that Ahsoka and Sabine encounter in the Ahsoka live action series. So of course I wouldn't expect this particular ship to look pristine and tidy. So I really like the weathering, and I really like the red color. It's not too sort of primary red, but I think it looks really nice in sort of contrast to sort of the very pale gray, almost white for the rest of the ship there. And we've got some fantastic accent colors, the same sort of metallic gunmetal silver that we have across the back engines. We've also got this insert here, fantastic detail there, and we've also got a little bit on the underside, that sort of matching section there. Some really just, I love the detail on this line. You can see all of that fine detail in there, that metallic paint, very tidy. We can see that nice clean definition between the white and the red. We can see we've got a little bit more weathering on the underside here actually. This looks like that would be the same sort of red as this section, but it's kind of made almost a grey with the sort of the weathering coming up over that section. Now we can see on the underside we have a few rivets, a few more than normal compared to some of the other ships. We've got 2 here sort of spread out on the wings, 2 closer in around the cockpit. We've also got 2 here on the sort of underside of the main body of the ship. And this one here is the attachment point for the display stand. We can also see that we've got the Lucasfilm and Hot Wheels stamp there on the underside. This is a licensed collectible, of course. Now I can see there's like maybe 1 or 2 parts on the underside where we have a little bit of, shall we say, a paint wobble. So there is a little bit of a red, like an L here, which isn't sort of present on the other side, and it kind of looks like a little bit of a paint run or a flick there. It's just not quite looking like that's supposed to be there, especially when I sort of look at both sides together. And I'm not sure what's going on here in terms of the underside of the cockpit. There's a bit of red that looks like it's coming from this section, and then it kind of looks like it's been flicked up, and because that's on the underside, it's going to be packaged like this. I wouldn't have been able to see that before I bought it, and unless I buy others, I can't see if that's something on other ships as well. I don't know if that's supposed to be there or not. So let me know in the comments if you've seen this on your T-6 Jedi Shuttle, if you've tracked this one down for your collection and opened it. So of course I'm not, you know, I try not to get too down when I come across small flaws with my Star Wars collectibles. Of course, you always want them to be perfect and amazing straight out of the box, but I do have to sort of remind myself that in certain positions, I'm not going to see that. I'm probably going to have mine pointed down a little bit so I can still see the cockpit, but I love the surface detail, and on the flat ships, I do tend to position them a little bit more nose down so that I'm not looking at them dead straight on. So I'm probably not going to see that once I put it on display. So again, I don't even know if that's not supposed to be there. Something about it just doesn't look like it's supposed to be painted like that, but I can't say for certain. And yeah, so it's kind of a little bit close to the cockpit there on the underside, but if I tip it a little bit nose down, I'm not going to see it. But I still really like 99% of the paint job of this ship. Now, of course, we do have to talk about some of the aspects of this ship. So unlike some other vehicle toy lines, we don't have plastic windows for the cockpits. This is a black gloss paint on metal there for the cockpit, so there's nothing to see on the inside. This is fully metal. Now, I know that for certain ships, particularly the ones that have a unique sort of a flying position versus sort of landed position. Now, unfortunately, this one, the cockpit doesn't rotate, because of course we know that Ahsoka's ship can kind of rotate a little bit like a B-wing, so that the cockpit sort of rotates when it sort of changes position. And unfortunately, this cockpit doesn't rotate. And we also know that the display stand attachment point is on the underside, so more it's going to be posed like this. We're not going to be able to display it like this, not unless you just kind of get creative and maybe you know, screw the display stand to the wall or the back of your display shelf and sort of have it mounted this way, which is a little bit of a shame. But maybe one of the other sort of competing Star Wars vehicle toy lines will give us a little bit more of a different sort of detail work around the cockpit here, because unfortunately this one doesn't move. And I know that is going to be a sticking point for some fans of this particular ship as well. I love that sort of aspect of the cockpits rotating. Of course, you know, we see it in Boba Fett's Starship, you know, the sort of old ones where it kind of rotates inside the cockpit, because of course his lands and flies in a very different position as well. But yeah, that would have been fun to move. But because this is die-cast metal, we generally find that this line in particular doesn't have a lot of moving parts. And if they do move, they are generally plastic. So I guess they decided that this was just a little bit too complicated to do, because we'd have to have sort of an extra plastic piece here in order to sort of rotate it through here. So I know there's a little bit of a compromise. Sometimes I think they want to get like a really nice, accurate sort of replica. And I know that for the most part, the Hot Wheels Starship Select line are not, I know they're sold in the toy store, but I think of them as display pieces, not really toys. They don't have sort of action features, you know, no landing gear and things like that. A few of them, of course, do have opening and closing wings, a few details that move. But on the whole, they're just kind of solid objects, solid metal objects. So personally, I don't know that it bothers me too much. I think I quite like the way that it's going to look on the display stand from this particular angle. But I know it would have been really hard to mount it like this. So I don't know. I don't know how much that bothers me. I know I can't change this one, but you know, maybe when a few other different versions are out there, maybe this one won't be quite as high up on my list if there are others that have that rotation sort of feature to be able to sort of put it on different stands. I don't know. I don't know how well it would actually look sort of on its edge in terms of sort of being able to attach it there. So who knows? I think this one looks pretty cool. I was so excited to see it when it was kind of revealed as being in an upcoming assortment. I love the Ahsoka series. So anything, especially this sort of shape of ship, it's kind of got a little bit of sort of the shape of the Falcon. It's sort of cut off. It's got the sort of B-wing cockpit. There's just so much cool stuff going on. I love the colors too as well. Just so striking. I love that kind of, that arrow there. I really like the detail here, the way these sort of white lines cut in. So I know I was taking a little bit of a detour talking about the sort of some of the paint flaws there on the underside, but that top sort of arrow design, just really, really cool. I really like it. Of course, I can spot the weathering here on this top bit a little bit more now that I've spent a bit of time looking all over at it. Really nice. I like that. Yeah, really cool. Oh, and of course we've got these darker grey parts painted here in the back that I hadn't sort of even really noticed, because every time I look at the back I'm just drawn in by that fantastic sort of metallic finish on the engines. Really nice. It's kind of interesting. I don't know why a metallic paint sort of draws my eye so much when I know the whole thing is metal. I think it's kind of interesting. Not all of the Star Wars ships have some kind of a metallic finish to it, so I think that's really nice. And we can kind of see on the underside where the two plates, because this is very flat, so we've got some of the details like this part that are sort of sandwiched in between the two layers. We can see where that sort of bottom layer is kind of sandwiched in and then attached with rivets to the top part. So it's kind of interesting that the bottom kind of sits in that top surface one, so we don't get that attachment line along the edge like we do on some ships. So if we're looking hard at the edge, it's all fully tight and painted. You kind of got to turn it up from the underside to actually see that attachment line. I like how they've really done a good job of hiding that. So when you're sort of looking at it from the normal aspect that we probably will when we put it on the stand in just a moment, we don't really see those attachment lines. It doesn't break up your eye line when you're sort of looking at it. I like that that's really nicely tucked in on the underside there. Really cool. Okay. I've spent quite a while going over the ship. You know, when you see these sort of preview images online and you wait anxiously the months and months before they finally show up and you can get them in your hands. It's just, I love spending the time to really go over all of the details, you know, especially since I've been waiting for this one for so long, and it just looks really cool and it feels really nice in the hand. So, of course, let's get it sort of fully built up. So, each of the Hot Wheels Starship Select vehicles comes with a display stand. Now, most of them are raised up on a two-part display stand like this. Some of the ground vehicles like the AT-AT and the Sandcrawler, they just have a flat base that they just kind of stand on. But I love the stands in this line. I think it really takes it up a notch. Okay, so we've got the two parts as pictured on the box there. So let's pull them out. So we have the sort of a Y-shaped support part there, and we have the sort of base part here, which is always wrapped up in tissue paper because we have a silver printed logo. So on the top of the cardboard box, we have a faction logo, which is repeated here on the display stand here in a fantastic metallic silver printed design here. So interestingly that we've got a slightly shortened ship name here as well. On the box it is noted as being Ahsoka Tano's T-6 Jedi Shuttle, but that's It's a little bit long to fit here, so it's simply noted as being T-6 Jedi Shuttle. But of course, we do still have Ahsoka Tano's fulcrum logo here as the faction symbol, which I really like there. On the front edge, we have the Star Wars logo and the Hot Wheels logo stamped in there. I know the Hot Wheels logo is very small there, but of course we can see that flame symbol there. Really nice. Now the whole line has these matching black bases. The prototype ones, the very vibrant sort of rainbow colored ones, they have white stands, so they stand out a little bit different if you have them all on display. So let's click these two parts together. Always a nice satisfying click, and they don't really want to come apart, which is important. I really want a sturdy stand if I'm going to be putting a full metal vehicle on it. So just going to pop that box out of the way. So we can see that we've got the attachment point there on the underside. We've got a ball-shaped attachment point here. It doesn't click on, but you just kind of give it a really good press and a wiggle, and it just kind of slowly grips on to that attachment point there. You can see that's nicely seated there. And let's test it out. Yay, that looks fantastic. And I love the shape of it, the way that these ones always kind of lean forward. Very nicely balanced, but I like the fact that that sort of leaning forward gives it momentum, like it's flying forward. I really like that. And of course, because we have a ball-shaped attachment point, it lets us rotate and rock it around, so you can get some really fun viewing angles. So I can turn it all the way around. And of course, like I said before, because this one's a little bit flat, I'm probably not going to have it displayed sort of completely upright, because it's a little bit of an abstract angle to look at it, and I'm missing out on all that cool surface detail. So for this particular ship, that's as front sort of nose down as I can tip it. Sometimes you can get a little bit more of a tighter angle. You can see there, that's about as far forward as I'm going to get there. But I think that that looks really nice, and it's not in danger of tipping forward, even though I've kind of tipped this metal ship more towards the edge, but it's really nicely balanced. And you can see if I was walking past my display shelf, even if this is an eye line, I can look across the surface. I can see that fantastic red sort of arrow paintwork there, and all of that surface detail in the cockpit there in the front. Absolutely fantastic. You see, I was mentioning earlier about the way that I love these as display pieces. They're not really toys. I know they're by a toy company in the toy aisle, but I think these really appeal to the older collector. Not to say that kids can't appreciate them, but they don't really come with play features. They don't fire missiles. There's no little figures to put in the cockpits like some other toy lines. And the display stand especially, I think it sort of elevates it. Now, of course, this line isn't in scale to each other. All of the ships are approximately the same size in relation to each other. So when you put them all together, they fit really nicely. The stands all match, and it just lines up really, really well. It just kind of makes my collector heart sing, seeing them all lined up. I like things that match, especially within the same sort of product line, and I think this one looks fantastic. We do have a few ships from the Ahsoka series showing up in this product line. I'm really excited about that. Of course, I want all of the iconic ships going all the way back to the original trilogy, the Millennium Falcon, still trying to track down the Imperial Shuttle, but I love this line, and for the most part, almost all of the assortments have shown up here in New Zealand, so that's always great news as well. It's hard sometimes being an international collector and falling for a new product line only to find out that it's really, really hard to find in your country. So I'm really hoping that for international fans, you were also able to find this, because Mattel is a pretty well distributed toy line. Hot Wheels are iconic and are mostly, available internationally. So a Star Wars product line that is, easy to get outside of the US is always a big, thumbs up in my book. So I'm so excited. I was really not certain if I would be able to find this one in New Zealand. Every now and again, a Hot Wheels assortment skips us, and I have to track them down online from international sources, but I couldn't believe my eyes when I spotted this one in my local toy store out shopping today. So of course I had to race home and open it up straight away, and I love it. It's just fantastic. Of course, we've got just those one or two little paint flaws on the underside, but once it's on display, I'm probably going to completely forget that it's there, because I just love the way it looks on its stand, and I can't see them because they're on the underside. So I'm really happy with this one. It just looks incredible. I love seeing the Ahsoka symbol there on this display stand as well. Oh, it just looks really, really cool. So happy to have this one. It is so unique. I love it. Oh, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up another Star Wars collection collectible to check out all of the fantastic details, and I had so much fun. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the galaxy. Let's hang out again very soon for more Star Wars fun. May the Force be with you. If you're a Hot Wheels Starships Select fan, I've also unboxed the New Republic E-Wing fighter. That video is linked here in case you haven't already seen it, as well as a whole Hot Wheels Starships Select unboxing playlist. This is the way.